Do you like comic books, video games, movies, and television? Are you way more interested in fictional superheroes than actual human beings or real life? Do you like listening to people discuss these topics for roughly an hour or two at a time?
Well, if you liked when this asshole did it alone, you're gonna love me.
This is the intro to our podcast, ain't it? What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bat in the Hat podcast, where we dive deep into all things nerd. My name is Kirk Langstrom, and with me, as always, is Matt. Matt Lee, what is up?
What is up, everybody?
What's happening?
I can't do it like you.
No?
Nope.
Can't.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah.
That's better.
That's more Matt.
That is.
So, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. We've been, for those who are interested in all the behind-the-scenes secrets of how we make this show, we've been sitting here for almost 2 hours trying to do stuff for the podcast, and now we're doing the podcast, so I'm excited.
We put in the man hours necessary to build our brand.
We're doing stuff. Today we have a pretty awesome show, something that I'm excited, I know Matt's pretty excited about, is we're going to go over both of our top 5 episodes for Batman the Animated Series, and kind of go over them and why we love them so much. But first, Matt, I got some news. I got a bunch of news.
I'm shocked.
A lot of stuff happened this week.
Yes.
A lot of crazy shit.
Well,
first up, huh?
Let's dive in. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Let's dive. Let's just get up in there. Zack Snyder, one of my favorite people on this planet, not because he's a phenomenal filmmaker, but because he told everybody to wake the fuck up about Ben Affleck. About Batman himself not killing.
Oh, not Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck has not, just disclaimer, Ben Affleck has never murdered anybody that we know of.
Is Ben Affleck related to Ben Affleck? Or is that the same?
No, those are completely different last names.
Okay, so we're talking about Affleck.
Yeah, we're talking about Affleck.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
He wears an Affliction t-shirt and he goes to every UFC fight.
Stop. Okay. But yes, I know what you're referencing. That was pretty cool. When they were talking about, Batman doesn't kill. Batman doesn't kill.
Yeah, people took a lot of offense. So Zack Snyder basically said that he has never had Batman overtly murder anybody. But the idea that Batman refuses to do anything in his older, grizzled state, which he was more of a Dark Knight Returns Batman in his version of the Justice League, the fact that he would not allow anybody to die on his watch, or that his one rule is so important that he wouldn't kill, is erroneous. And I kind of agree. I hate to say it.
Well, in his world, too, I think at least that he was building, obviously Jason Todd had been killed. And right. I'm thinking that was probably like the implied breaking point for him.
Right.
I totally dug it. I liked his take on Batman. I totally agree. And if you watch anything that Batman's ever been involved with, it may not be direct murder, but dude blows up buildings. I mean, right. He's got pretty low regard for.
Well, and he had he had actual guns on his Batmobile which again I don't remember at all him firing them at people. But the vehicles and the buildings sure gotta.
Oh, he had them in the Tim Burton movie too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Actual guns?
Yeah. I don't remember he was going through the bay door and he just went. And
yeah.
And he had a bomb. No, he had shields. They tried to blow him up. Anyway, no, he did have a bomb.
Did he?
He dropped the A bomb and blew up Ace Chemicals.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he didn't. Do you think he knew that place was empty?
My whole point is, what do you think about Batman specifically in that one rule? Because I've never agreed with it. You know that I'm a huge Punisher fan, and that's why I'm a big Punisher fan, because I think the Punisher is Batman who disregards that rule. I don't know how to say this diplomatically, but I think that at some point, people are right. He would have saved more lives killing the Joker or killing certain villains than he has saved because he refused to kill anybody at all.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. That's always the argument I have is I dig it. Like, I think that's what defines Batman as a character. It's produced great story arcs, things like that. But yes,
and I do too. I agree, but I think that there's a big difference, and I don't know if you'll agree, but I think there's a really big difference in that version of Batman. That's the same Batman. He's just past, like you said, he's older. He's past that breaking point. He's been through a lot versus the young Batman that we see in some of the other mediums. They could be the same Batman, but something changes along that timeline.
Well, also in BVS, also he says they're like weeds. You know, you put one away and two come back. So I think he's at this point in his run, which is like basically the end of his run. He's just over it. He's like, look, I've tried the other way. It does nothing. So
Right.
I'm not. I mean, I thought it was awesome. I really did. He just went in there and started wrecking people.
I agree. Sticking with Zack Snyder for a minute, because we got a lot of Zack Snyder kind of Ben Affleck news as well, but sticking with Zack Snyder specifically, Ezra Miller and Ray Fisher, the Flash and Cyborg, are both out. Now, what's interesting is the reason. So Ezra Miller, we talked about, he had taken over. Him and Grant Morrison got together, and they were going to rewrite the script because they did not like the direction that that WB and that their directors were moving them in. Because obviously they had a lot of great success with Aquaman. They had a lot of great success with Wonder Woman, and they're having so far. I haven't seen it, but the early reviews for Shazam are off the charts.
Oh, it's like the highest rated one they've done, I think.
Which is amazing because I loved Aquaman. If this is better than Aquaman, I have a lot of hope for DC's future.
It's like we discussed last week. Their solo films, people get so caught up in, oh, Suicide Squad sucked, Justice League sucked, BVS was whatever. But their solo films since Man of Steel, in my opinion, have been just
I still
awesome.
think Man of Steel is a good movie, though.
I love it. It's
love
my
Man of
favorite
Steel.
one. It is
But
still my favorite one.
I'm just saying that I have nothing. Of course, I still want Justice League movies. I still want team-up movies. I want them to, build it correctly and give us those solo outings that we can really appreciate and admire the same way that Marvel did. But, yeah, Ezra Miller is out because he didn't like the lighthearted direction that they're going with a lot of their stuff, which I will say for The Flash, I could see being either way. A lot of people say that The Flash needs to be lighthearted and goofy, when I think that because, we're dealing with Barry Allen, there is some room for very serious, very, not as jokey, because Wally West was really the jokey, kind of goofy, Nightwing-ish Flash.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of room for either way. Do I think that it needed a dark tone? No. But I trust Grant Morrison as a writer because he's amazing.
Yeah.
And I trust Ezra Miller because I've listened to his interviews. He seems like a very intelligent guy. He knows what, and he's a fan,
Well, it's sad for me because I may be in the minority here, but I loved him in Justice League. I thought he was hilarious.
I did too.
I thought he played the character great.
I thought he was a little more neurotic than I would have liked Barry Allen to be.
Yeah.
But he also was he was young. He was supposed to be like year 1 or year 2 Flash.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I didn't have any issue, and I thought he was great. I loved the effects. I thought that he looked good. I loved that his suit was kind of pieced together with all that safety wire and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
But But yeah, so WB said that they actually really liked the script that they handed in, but it wasn't what they wanted to do. So, Ezra said that he's out, so they're going to recast the Flash. And now that's okay. That's not okay, but it's okay in a sense because there was no like hard feelings. I don't know how Ezra Miller feels. I'd like to see if he's like really upset about it. But he ultimately walked away because he didn't want to be a part of something he didn't believe in. Now, Ray Fisher as Cyborg was phenomenal.
I loved him.
I thought he was great as Cyborg, as Victor Stone. And he got booted because Zack Snyder is the one who brought him on.
Who picked him out.
And WB said we had no interest in continuing our partnership with Ray Fisher or the character Cyborg. They said we have no interest in Cyborg.
I can get them saying that we have no interest in making solo films about him. I get that because I agree. Like I'm not gonna lie. I loved him in Justice League.
Right.
I want Ray Fisher to play the character.
Right.
I have no interest to see a Cyborg movie.
I don't know. It's kind of the side of Doom Patrol on the DC Universe app that's out. Is that Cyborg iteration whenever we get a glimpse of him by himself and his like background, I'm not as interested.
Well-
And what's weird is I'm a huge fan of the character, but it didn't occur to me until I read this article that he's never been a standalone character.
Well, and that's why. Well, he was always like the. I always saw Cyborg as him being like the. I don't want to call him the leader. He's more like the guardian of the Teen Titans. Like I always see him attached with the Teen Titans. Like
Well,
he's always like their mentor.
And I'll say that if yes and no, I definitely see his place very, very much so in the Justice League, especially with his new.
Oh well, definitely, yeah.
Especially with the current iteration of his origin story, him being fused with Mother Box technology and all that good stuff. I wouldn't want to see him with Titans, but I also I couldn't see him being standalone. Even in the comic books right now, him and Starfire are a big part of the Justice League Odyssey book that's out, and it's really great. But I don't, I just realized after reading this that I couldn't personally see him as a standalone character, nor do I think I'd be interested.
No, well, and he's such a dope member of the league because he has abilities that nobody else can even come close to.
He's the
being
ultimate
comparable
support teammate.
Yeah,
he's the
you
ultimate
need
teammate
him.
who can put those last pieces of the puzzle together.
He's a perfect example of why I think these shows about these lesser-known characters and teams such as Doom Patrol, Titans, if people aren't super familiar with those characters,
Right.
and hell, even Umbrella Academy, in a sense, it's like a lot of these characters couldn't carry their own film,
Right.
but together they are perfect. Even Suicide Squad, like a lot of those guys couldn't carry their own movie. Absolutely not.
Oh,
but
no.
they're
Like, I
great
wouldn't
as
want
a
to see a
team.
Captain Boomerang movie. I don't want that.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. Now, Nightwing could definitely do it.
Yeah, Deadshot could too, in my opinion. But
Starfire could, because I'd be interested in seeing Tamarin.
Coriander and her sister also named Spice.
It's Commander.
Oh, Commander and Corey.
Yeah. The Spice Girls.
Zing.
Funny.
Moving on.
Coriander and Commander. And I'd be really interested in seeing Tamarin, like a movie based around Tamarin.
Yeah, because they could do like a civil war. Well, I mean, that's her story, obviously, but they could do like a civil war on Tamarin.
That being said, I think the same thing
awesome.
of Martian Manhunter. Somebody said that they would not want to see a standalone movie. I would love to see the demise of Mars.
Bro, he is one of the sickest characters around, and
Agreed.
he does not ever, like in print, in the animated films, he does not get enough.
He doesn't get
Spotlight.
the credit that he's due.
He is so overpowered, too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, bro, come on.
Except when it comes to fire.
Yeah.
You can't
Deathly
take it.
afraid of fire. I could phase through matter, but fire, no go.
So, again, sticking with Snyder and that kind of theme, he did confirm the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he also confirmed that the movie that we got to see, now this interests me, is only about 43% of what he's put out. And there's over 2 hours of Snyder footage that we did not see.
Yeah, well, I was all gung-ho about it from the beginning, but now I'm just over it. I know it's never going to happen. We're never
not.
going to see it.
I'm not. I will pay. Gosh.
But we're never going to see it. They're just bringing it up over and over because it causes commotion.
Yeah, they're dangling it in front of our faces, but I would kill to
I would
see
pay
that.
$100 to own it. Yes, like if it came
Yeah.
out tomorrow. And I mean, when you watch the movie, you can tell what scenes he did. You literally can. If you watch it, you can tell the bits that were in his movie.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know, but I don't think it'll ever come out.
But yeah, moving on to the last piece of Snyder-related news is Ben Affleck. He actually stated that he would be he'd be interested in cameoing. He'd be interested in making a cameo in Kevin Smith's new Jay and Silent Bob reboot, despite the fact that they have had a estranged friendship.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh,
I thought
they
he
have
was still tight with them.
They haven't spoken for years.
Wow.
They have so.
Well,
and Kevin's
Affleck's been like a drunk for a long time too.
So they asked Ben Affleck, have you been asked, would you want to do it? Because he's had two very neat characters in the View Askew-averse with Kevin Smith.
Look at these morose mother.
Yeah,
yes, I love them in
exactly.
Jay and Silent
Love
Bob.
that Jay and Silent
Bong.
Bob. So they what was that, Holden McNeil, that, and they wanted him to. They didn't want him. Nobody asked him, but he said I haven't been asked, but I would love to actually.
Well, trust me, if he is, we'll know, because on Instagram, Kevin Smith has ruined the whole movie. He's let me know that anybody that has been in every film they've ever done has returned. Like, there's no surprise.
I've seen all the pictures. Here's the thing, though. And they got Boo Boo Kitty Fuck to come back.
Shannon Elizabeth. I mean, they got Chasing Amy. I can't remember the actress in it. She's in it.
Joey Lawrence.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is.
All of them. The $15, little man, the 2 little kids. They're back.
I saw that too.
But then I started getting sad. I'm like, dude, like some of these, like these guys coming back would have been great to just not know they were coming back.
Yeah.
But he's showing everything.
You know what's funny about that is Kevin Smith, when he was asked about their estranged friendship, was that when Ben Affleck started to really rise to fame in the late 90s and the early 2000s, was it then? Late 90s, early 2000s? When he started to rise to fame and him and Kevin Smith were still friends, Kevin Smith couldn't keep his mouth shut. And he would tell a lot of stories that were not his to tell. And it wasn't maliciously. He just was really excited for his friend.
That's funny, being what I was just saying.
Right, exactly. So. But he ended up, he was really excited about his friend's success and stuff happening, that he would tell a lot of stories that he just should have kept under wraps.
He seems like he's a really, really great guy. But yes, he also, he doesn't have a, I don't want to say a filter. He has no barrier. Like,
I don't
there's
think
nothing
that
that'll
way.
stop.
I don't think it's that way anymore, because if there's anything I've learned about Kevin Smith, just being a fan, is that I think that even all the stuff that he's spoiled for us on Instagram, there's going to be a lot more surprises to come. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Will Ferrell return for, you remember his role in Jay and Silent Bob?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of like really just neat cameos.
I want to see Suzanne, the chimpanzee, come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Suzanne. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting that Ben Affleck said he would want to have a cameo. But even though, so he said at that time, which was a few days ago, that he had not been asked. Nobody had reached out to him. And then yesterday I saw a report that they've wrapped filming.
See, and that's the funny part, because I didn't know about this estranged friendship.
Yeah.
I had no doubt. Like, I was like, he'll be in it. Matt Damon will be in it. Obviously, the guy that plays Banky, Jason. You know who I'm talking about. My Name is Earl.
Jason Lee.
Yeah, he's in it. But I thought for sure Affleck would be in it. He's been in almost all their movies.
Yeah, no. I don't think so, unfortunately, unless that they talk and he gets, because I think word of that will get back to Kevin. Mm-hmm. And even if he has
reshoots.
Even if he has to do some reshoots, he might do it.
Well, they filmed the movie in 4 weeks.
They did it very fast.
It was quick. I remember he said, "Here's the schedule. We'll be done in 4 weeks."
Yeah. And they wrapped filming like yesterday or the day before.
And it was funny because I was like, well, if you filmed it in 4 weeks, and over these 4 weeks you've shown us different behind-the-scenes featurettes and all the people that are in it, I'm like, I feel like I've seen 80% of the movie. But I don't know if this was a rumor or if this was just a very clever fan suggestion / theory.
Right.
You remember how Mark Hamill played Cockknocker at
Yes.
the end? They said, what if this time around it's Daisy Ridley who plays Ray?
Oh, that'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny.
I heard Mark Hamill was making a cameo as well.
I'm sure he will.
Speaking of Mark Hamill, on to our next piece of news. I was actually going to save this towards the end of the news, but Mark Hamill is voicing Chucky in the new Child's Play.
I did read that yesterday.
That is pretty insane.
Yeah, considering we know what he can do as the Joker, so he can get pretty maniacal.
So I was already excited about this movie. I was not excited at all when I heard about it. But then I saw the first trailer, and I was like, okay.
Is Aubrey
Plaza is playing the mom, which is weird because she's young, and I never saw her as a mom, but she's also very talented. So I think that she'll be very good.
Yeah. If Chris Pratt's not playing her husband, I have no interest. Parks and Rec.
I know. I'm a big Parks and Rec fan
life.
too. I'm really excited because I think Mark Hamill is just so insanely talented.
I feel like he's even better with voice work. I mean, I don't mean it as an insult.
No,
really, but he is better when he knows he doesn't have to visually act.
No,
but when he can put his whole performance through voice, he's amazing.
He has been the Joker for our entire lives. 25 years of being the greatest villain in all of DC Comics, and I think he's amazing.
Hell yeah.
Early reviews for Shazam are great.
Oh,
We already
killing it.
talked a little bit about that. They're really off the charts. I'm excited to see it. That's going to be next weekend.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do our Shazam review.
See, here was my thing too. I wanted to say this back when you brought up all the people who've been axed with the DC films, like Ray and Ezra. Number one, I hope Henry sticks around. I really do. I love Henry Cavill as Superman.
I don't think that he will.
I don't think he will
I
either.
think we're getting a total and you know what? I hate to say this. I wonder how Momoa and Gal Gadot and
They're going to keep them.
I wonder how, though. How are you going to keep just them, and then the whole rest of the Justice League is going to be
There's
recast?
a point, really, where you can just say, these are movies. We can do whatever we want. If they do a soft reboot, hard reboot, it doesn't matter. Wonder Woman was a smash hit. Aquaman was an unexpected smash hit, at least financially. They're keeping them. Those two are safe.
Oh, by the way, because it was a big deal with Aquaman when it passed $1 billion, Captain Marvel just passed $1 billion today.
Yeah. Well, good for that. Like we talked about before, I enjoyed the movie, so money well spent, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are, talking shit, this and that, but whatever.
No, yeah,
I'm
definitely glad I saw it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think those two are safe. I wish Henry would stick around, but he got his dream role playing Geralt for the Witcher series, which I'm stoked about. And I just don't know. I don't want to see them get recast.
I just want one joke in the next Justice League movie, even if it's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line, after they've done a whole slew of solo outings. It won't be that long, but it could, if it is. I want one joke where Jason Momoa just says something like, "You guys look different," or like it's just something to kind of poke fun at the fact that he's like one of the last remaining. We have a different Flash. They won't have a Cyborg, which is sad.
No, where's the robot guy?
Yeah, where's Cyborg?
Well, I mean, I think they're seeing this as their chance. People have said it from the beginning. They're like, all you were doing was rushing to try to catch up to Marvel, but they put in the legwork to do it right, and you should too.
It's just so disappointing. How could they not have thought, what kind of fucking idiots are running WB that they thought, oh, Marvel put in all this time and effort and they did it right, but we can do it in 2 movies.
Yeah, but see, here's the funny part is everyone thinks the cards were stacked against them. I still think after BVS they would have been fine if they just would have did that as like an event to bring in Batman and then just stick with the solo ones for a while. They just went to Justice League way too fast. And then they changed the whole dynamic. I mean, you put us in like dark, gritty, badass Batman, depressed Superman, and then everybody's all happy-go-lucky in the second one.
I will say that if I had a criticism about Superman, I would have. So it's well known that they, even in Man of Steel, it was a much more solemn tone, and they darkened the colors of his suit to be a little more modern and cool. I wouldn't have done either of those things.
Well, I think we said this before. I feel like in the last 10 minutes of Justice League, they finally got Superman. Like, that was him. Like, he had the brighter suit. He was funny. He was making little quips.
Did he have a brighter suit?
Yep.
See, that's what
CGI, non-mustache, and all.
Yes, I would have liked to see that Superman that inspires hope, and the one that you just want to smile at and watch an American eagle fly behind. And
when he came in and he said, "I'm not a fan of bullies, but I'm a big fan of justice," and then he laid into freaking oh boy, why can't I think of his name? Not Darkseid.
Steppenwolf.
I mean, that was like perfect. That was like perfect textbook Superman. And it did make me smile. I was like, but they made Batman so terrible. I thought he was great in BVS. I loved that Batman. And then in Justice League, he was just not that.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I would like to see Henry Cavill stay, but I also think that leaves us room. It's weird because I want Jason Momoa to stay and Gal Gadot. I think they're both fantastic, but if at this point, I just want them to recast the whole lot.
I think I read
right.
that they said they're giving up on the team-ups and they'll focus strictly on solos, so that's another reason.
They can't do that forever.
Well, they can't forever, but they can do it for a while.
Because we will get to the point where the fans, we want another Justice League movie.
Well,
or
I think
we want a team-up of some sort.
Their version of Aquaman in the films is too unique and good, they're not going to get rid of it. And they're not going to get rid of Gal. It's not going to happen.
No, for sure. And I'm not hoping that happens.
Nah. We all want them to succeed. I know everybody does this Marvel DC banter crap and blah, blah, blah. I want all of them to succeed. I go to all of the movies. I love them. Yes, I like DC more, source material-wise, but I love when Marvel films are great. I love when DC films are great. Marvel is winning, yes, in the movie run. It's just, it is what it is. But I think DC, the momentum's about to shift.
So what's interesting is when I was at Mythical Mountain on Wednesday, I was looking at my pull list, and I was thinking, I was trying to think to myself, I don't know why I was having this, existential crisis, but I was thinking, why do I have so much more DC? Why am I a DC fanboy? And what it really came down to is that, I was looking at the Spider-Man titles and the Venom titles and the stuff that I really love, right? And I was looking at the DC titles I have: Batman, Superman, Justice League, all 3 iterations of Justice League Dark, Justice League Odyssey. I was looking at Nightwing. I was looking at all the stuff, and I realized there are just more characters on DC's side that I care about than Marvel. Because on Marvel, there are characters that I like, but I don't have Captain America in my pull.
Dude, I could care less about Captain America.
I don't want to read Captain America's book. I don't want to read Iron Man.
I really don't either.
I have Punisher. I have Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is always my number one.
Spider-Man
I love
and Venom.
Spider-Man.
I'm a huge, and now that we have a big Carnage, it's called Absolute Carnage. It's the big event happening after the War of the Realms in Marvel.
Sweet.
I'm very excited. I love that stuff, but I just don't care about most of Marvel's roster, at least not enough for me to want to read their books, by themselves. And then I looked at DC, and I was like, all of these I want to, other than, I don't have Green Arrow because I just don't want to read Green Arrow's book. Green Lantern I don't want to read unless
Green Lantern, I love the character. I think he's one of my favorites, but his comic universe and storylines are so big. I mean, they get into all the different Lantern Corps. I just don't even want to start because I'm like, it's just a lot.
And I will say I also don't have Aquaman because I don't like the written versions of Aquaman as much as I like seeing it thematically. I don't know why.
It's funny with DC, my favorite characters are ones that I guess in most cases wouldn't be considered their top heavy hitters, like Red Hood. Arguably my number one favorite DC character, if not Deathstroke.
I think that in this upcoming roster of DC properties and movies, Nightwing deserves his own movie. Nightwing deserves a Nightwing movie. And I think that there's a very easy way to write that in after you get the next Batman under your belt. And I think that while the Red Hood doesn't need his own movie necessarily, it is very easy to bring him into Nightwing or to bring him into one of the Batman movies by themselves.
See, I feel, though, with the Red Hood, and you have a great point, it's like, how do you want to approach it? Do you want to approach it that he's already established as Red Hood, or do you want to undertake the whole arc? Because you could make that whole movie.
I want to see
You could make it 3, honestly.
Death in the Family.
Yeah, that's too iconic.
I want to see it in a movie. The same way that I want to see... I got the Killing Joke in the animated movie. I'm fine. I don't need that. We kind of got that in the Nicholson one, and it was awful.
Teach their own.
Well, you know what I mean. It wasn't. I don't need it in a new movie. I don't need the Joker origin story past whatever's going to happen in this Joker movie coming at the end of this year. That being said, I would love a Death in the Family. I would love. There's a lot of Batman story arcs. I would love a Court of Owls introduced into the movies, but I think Nightwing can hold his own movie. I think it's a great branch because when we're talking about the Marvel movies, how they all branch together, I think having Batman and him having, in whatever movie, if we're going to do the Death in the Family, Nightwing's already Nightwing.
Yeah, I was going to say, he actually wouldn't even need to be Robin. We already know.
Yeah, we don't need a young Dick Grayson.
Hell, you could do a montage. You could be like, oh, I remember, when he was growing up, he was amazing. And then...
I don't even know if you have to.
No, you don't. Just be cool to see Dick Grayson hopping around as the boy wonder.
Yeah, I think so. You can introduce that idea in the Death in the Family movie.
Yeah.
And then after that, have a Nightwing movie and feature the Red Hood.
Yeah, and he could easily be the villain also. Like,
Well, that's
he could
what I
show up
mean.
in Bloodhaven. And
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
be awesome.
He
And
could-
then he'd have a vendetta against Dick. Oh, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
I think that would be cool.
But to do that correctly, like you said, that's got to be down the line because you need a good Joker established.
set it
you
all
need a good
up.
Batman
Yep.
established. You may even want to establish a Robin, but it's not 100% required, like you were just saying. I mean, a lot of
No,
that
I
could
think
be
that
implied.
the Robin, if you're going to establish a Robin, and that's actually fine. Establish Jason Todd right now as the Robin.
Right.
Don't even you can establish Jason Todd, mention Nightwing, or even have Nightwing make his first appearance, and then in the meantime establish the idea of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
The idea, because I would rather them go with the under the Red Hood origin
Yep.
than we can't do a Crisis on Infinite Earth kind of thing, but establish a Ra's al Ghul, establish a good Joker, and then do your Death in the Family, and then a Nightwing movie. Make Red Hood the antagonist, and then give us a Batman cameo at the very end for the cleanup.
I was
You know
going
what
to say,
mean?
how sick would that be to have a Batman movie where he has a Robin? And like you said, it's Jason Todd, which as fans, we all know if Jason Todd's the Robin, that means shit's going to go down and we're
Right.
going to get to see it unfold on film. But number two, how sick would that be? Like you said, they'll mention Nightwing, blah, 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 but then he shows up like in a post-credit scene or something, just in his glory, in his Nightwing outfit. That'd be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, Nightwing could easily be introduced in a post-credit scene. That would be an amazing post-credit scene.
Yeah, you know how...
Just like back when Marvel would give us like the post-credit scene of Thor's hammer,
Yep.
and would give us that would be great. I
oh my
think
God.
I
My
think we
jaw's
also
like
got
hitting the
Doctor
floor.
Strange as a post-credit scene, didn't we?
We got Thor coming to visit Doctor Strange.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But they've done some really good ones. I remember we saw Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in one, but
Yep.
I don't think anyone... I mean, we knew, like, if you're familiar with the characters, but...
Oh, I definitely knew immediately.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, good for you.
that sounded so nerd braggy. I knew immediately. No, but yeah, I think that'd be cool. But speaking of Marvel and Thor, Chris Hemsworth says that he is done after Endgame. Endgame will be his last as well.
See, I thought they were all done, honestly. I
think-
really thought that was the plan.
I think that's where we're coming. I think because they've now gone back to Captain America is done, even though they teased that he was not going to be.
He's finished.
So I went and looked. He is done.
He said that from the beginning. He said he was going to be done in
Yeah, but
Infinity
they gave us
War.
that tease where he tweeted and he was like, "But I'm not done."
Well,
haha."
listen to this. This was my favorite part of that. He said he was going to be done in Infinity War, which means they were probably going to kill him off initially. And then he said, when they sent me the script and they told me it was a 2-movie layout, and I read how the character plays out, he goes, I had to do it. He's like, I had to go all the way to the last movie. So I'm sure it's going to be huge. It's going to be a big deal. But I thought for sure him, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, I think they're... I mean, dude, we've been watching them play these characters for a decade plus.
Right.
I'm sure they're ready to move on. I mean, just as actors. So,
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I think that it's gonna come. I don't know how everybody's gonna respond to Phase 4 of Marvel. I don't know. I feel like we are gonna have that sense of a closing with Endgame, and I don't know how apathetic we all are going to feel with Phase 4 because I don't know. I feel like I may get a little apathy.
yeah, but there's really never been anything like this in cinema before. Because it is. It's like, hey, we've built this entire universe, the MCU.
Right.
And we've made it known that the first phase, which you've been watching for the past decade plus, is about to end. And I mean, it's just clear. It's like this is going to end, and then we're moving forward. I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to go nuts, like I told you before, with the next phase. They're going to do cosmic stuff, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Mutants. I think it'll be cool, but
Yeah.
like I said, the momentum's about to shift for DC because I think they're about to start nailing their solo movies.
Right.
And then everybody's going to be like, well, Chris Hemsworth not in the Marvel movies anymore, so I don't want to see it. Like, my girlfriend doesn't want to go. She likes Jason Momoa.
That's
though.
what I mean. I don't know how much people, because it's going to be a pretty dynamic shift.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people are. I don't think people are going to instantly be like, I hate this.
No.
But I think a lot of people are going to be like, I just don't know if I'm as excited to see these as I was the first.
I'll tell you, I think Spider-Man's safe. I think every Tom
Yeah.
Holland Spider-Man movie that comes out
And there's
going to
be a lot of people who watch the movies just because they don't want to miss them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they'll teeter off, essentially like what you were just saying, I think. I think it's still going to be high, like when this phase is over. Still going to make tons of money, but I think after the first couple years, people will be like, superhero fatigue kind of thing. So
Yeah, so I don't know. But, and the only thing I wanted to go over before we jump into our Batman the Animated Series lists is Detective Comics 1000 just came out. And this past Wednesday. And, Matt, it was incredible. It was just as great as I was expecting it. Now, you know that I pre-ordered all 12 of my variant covers, and I posted those covers on our Facebook page, the Bat in the Hat podcast on Facebook, and my favorite one was, and we're talking about Batman the Animated Series, was the 1940s cover, because it's Batman Through the Decades, that 1940s cover done by Bruce Timm, who was the artist for Batman the Animated Series, and it is a really great cover. And it was all of these, so it was basically, I think, maybe 7 or 8. I actually don't know how many, but it was a bunch of mini stories, just like for Action Comics 1000 for Superman, where it was all of the different writers, not all of them, but many of the famous writers throughout Batman's history writing their own mini story. And
how cool is that? Just that concept, just to get
so cool.
all the freaking,
and you had all these different artists, and every story had its own thing. You had some that were more of the. There was one that was called, I think it was just called Family, and it's the entire Bat family sitting on the rooftop of a building in Gotham, and they're talking. So you have Nightwing, Damian as Robin. You have Tim Drake as Red Robin. You have Jason Todd as the Red Hood, not Cassandra Cain, who Batwoman.
Oh, yeah. I always forget her name.
Can't remember her name, but you have Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. You have not Silencer. It was the
was Damien there? Did you already say
Orphan.
Damien?
Yeah, Damien as well. So you had the whole Bat family, whose names I'm now coming to a crashing end.
It's implied.
But yeah, I'm supposed to be a fan. But they're all standing on the roof debating why they were brought there. And the Red Hood keeps saying, he's going to kick me out. This is it. This is it. After what I did, he's going to kick me out of the family. And they keep being like, what did you do? And he's like, don't worry about it. But he's going to kick me out. And Barbara's talking to Batwoman about, like, Batwoman's like, I've been to actual war. I was I was a Marine. Have you ever been to war? And she's like, I dated Dick Grayson. That's like pretty much the same thing. And Dick Grayson's just being Dick Grayson. He's being Nightwing. And all of a sudden, he goes, what was it? One of them says, hey, there's a batarang stuck in the wall. I know that batarang. I've used that batarang. And then Red Hood goes, hey, do you guys notice how we're all looking in the same direction? Well, that means, and then they turn around, and of course Batman's standing behind them. And he brought them all on the roof so that he could, that batarang was a camera batarang, and he brought them all on the roof so he could get a picture of the family together.
Aww.
And it was honestly really sweet. And it was just, and that's just one of the many short stories. Some of them kind of highlighted the brutality that he's, not necessarily killing, but how he goes a little too far. Some of them highlighted his relationship once again with Alfred, his relationship with different people, and it's just like really heartwarming, and then sometimes really like harrowing stuff. And I thought all of it was great. And then at the very end, you get kind of what is going to happen next for Detective Comics, and you're getting this monologue through the pages showing Batman. Oh, before I get to that, there was one really great story I want you to hear about, where Alfred was going to these collectors who collected like illegal paraphernalia in Gotham, and he found a gun. It was a pistol, and the guy said, yeah, this is the gun that Joe Chill used to kill the Waynes. And Alfred brought the gun. He said, I finally found it. This was Joe Chill's gun he killed your parents with. And he said, don't you think it's a little disgusting to have this as one of your trophies? And he said, I'm not. And he throws it in a furnace, and he makes a metal chest plate out of it and he puts it into his suit. And he said, now the thing that took my parents' life is going to save mine.
Wow.
And I was like, that was an amazing story. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But so at the end, you finally you're getting this monologue talking about how Batman is deranged and how he's done nothing to save the city and not the way that I can and then you finally on the last page, you get the Arkham Knight and it says, and now I'm going to show you how the Arkham Knight is really going to bring justice to Gotham.
That is so sick. I'm such a big fan of Arkham Knight because all he is Red Hood. But
well, but this
but they're
can't
established.
be.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
have to start reading those.
So I would pick it up. I would go to a store and get from 1001 when it comes out in 2 weeks.
Well, I need to get 1,000 from the sounds
and I'm
of
sure
it.
that they're
sounds
still
great.
on the shelf. So you might not be able to get all the covers or anything, but you can get them.
No.
You can still get the main one. So go get 1,000 and then put on a pull list at Mythical Mountain on San Jose in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida.
San Jose Boulevard.
San Jose Boulevard. And just make sure you pick it up because honestly, I'm in love with it, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what they do with Arkham Knight. By the way, I'm sorry if I spoiled that for the people listening, but one, if you read comic books, you've read this already because it was too big a deal, and if you don't read comic books, then you probably weren't gonna. So,
And then option 3, kiss my ass. No, I'm just kidding.
all right, so let's get into Batman the Animated Series.
All right.
We're about 40 minutes into this podcast, which is making pretty good time. And I'm excited because I really loved watching all these episodes again. Like, it was so much fun. I just realized how long it's been since I've watched them, and it brought out the child nostalgia in me.
They still hold up.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
they're
really
still good.
do. Not all of them, I will say.
There's some weren't meant to be good. Like, you could tell they were just corny as hell.
I
but-
think that was the best example of seeing how different, because not every episode was directed by Paul Dini. So I think it's really apparent when you see the episodes directed by different people.
Yeah, that show is like a real big collaboration. Once you watch it,
Well,
like you notice people come in to take over, and like they take turns who directs, and
Yeah, I think it's most television though nowadays, especially, is that even on most shows, you don't have the same director throughout the entire series of a show. You have them do maybe the initial concepts in a lot of the first early episodes, but then you have like the first episode, I think, of The Flash for the new season, where they're going to introduce Godspeed, which I'm going to probably start watching again just so I can see Godspeed. Danielle Panabaker is going to direct that one. So
the Killer Frost Girl.
yeah, Kevin Smith constantly goes to direct Supergirl and The Flash, and so they always have a bunch of different. Kevin Smith had one of the short stories in the Detective Comics 1000.
Are his comics
Huh?
any good? I've heard mixed reviews. Like
I
the
will
ones
say
he does
his Batman stuff, I always thought was good when he wrote for Batman a little bit. He's currently writing Hitman Does Hollywood. Hitman, what the fuck? Hit Girl from Kick-Ass. So he's writing the Hit Girl Goes to Hollywood, basically, which is the story of Jay and Silent Bob, because she finds out. It's really graphic.
We're going to Hollywood.
Yeah, it's really graphic, but really good. But she finds out they're making a movie about her.
Oh,
and
so
she,
it legitimately is.
She
Jay
goes to
Silent.
Hollywood to stop it. Except this one, she gets there immediately, and by issue 2, we have a different story. But it was kind of funny. But I will say it's very graphic and very. But yeah, I think he's a good writer. I think what's weird is once you realize that Kevin Smith is writing a comic, you almost can absolutely hear him saying any of these lines of dialogue,
Or see him doing this. I know the listeners can't see it, but he always does this. Like in his photos, he always lifts his hand and does that.
Oh, when he's talking, and he's always he talks with his hands very much so. But yeah, I think he is a good writer. I don't think he is. How should I say this? I think he shits on his own stuff more than I would ever shit on his stuff. Like, I think he's a good writer and a decent director. I think he's not made some great movies, which is amazing to me. But whatever.
Can't be perfect. Can't win them all.
Yeah. So Batman the Animated Series. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, kind of back and forth, and somehow, without even collaborating this, me and Matt have different top 5s completely.
So you're in for a treat. We're actually getting 10 episodes, folks.
Suckers.
Yep.
You know?
If you're not aware, Batman the Animated Series, if you're anywhere between ages 25, 30, you'll know it was the awesome Batman cartoon during the 90s. September 5th, 92 is when it started, ran through 95. Arguably, like, the best animated series. Up there, Spider-Man's up there, too, the one from the 90s.
Yes, I love that. Love the 90s Spider-Man.
But if you're this deep in and you don't know which show that we're referencing for the upcoming countdown that we're about to do, then just leave. But do you want to...
Or, listen, and maybe you'll want to... Maybe you'll want to watch it.
Hey, pull it up on Amazon Prime. You can watch all of it.
It's on Amazon Prime. It is on the DC Universe app, which is, I think, still only $7 a month. And, the DC Universe app is great. I use it constantly because I read so many I go back. They have a big back catalog of comics, and they also have almost every DC movie and TV show you could ask for. So check it out on the DC Universe app because they do have all of the Batman the Animated and the new Batman adventures. So,
and just to clarify, if you're listening, I never want you to leave us.
Yeah,
Stay.
Don't leave us, baby. Don't hurt me.
Okay, I'm leaving. So you want to kick it off, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll do my number 5. Number 5 for me was Heart of Ice. It was kind of like this in-depth look at Mr. Freeze, and I think what's interesting about it is. So it was directed by Paul Dini and written by other way around. It was written by Paul Dini and directed by Bruce Timm, who were the two showrunners of Batman the Animated Series. And it was just like this in-depth look at Mr. Freeze and what he was willing to do to save his wife Nora. And it was honestly absolutely worth the Emmy that it won.
Yeah, folks, it won a freaking Emmy.
Yeah, that episode won an Emmy.
So good.
And it was so good. It was just so poignant, and I think that you really just felt all of the pain that Michael Ansara is the one who he voice acted Mr. Freeze. And it was so chilling and robotic and just perfectly Mr. Freeze.
Yep.
And it really did bring that sense of... He's not just another villain. Mm-hmm. He's a villain that you kind of feel for because the whole episode you're seeing the tragedy that was Mr. Freeze and how he became himself.
Yeah, that episode I didn't necessarily make you pull for him, but yeah, like you said, you understood him. Like you were like, I get it. I know why he's doing this, and it was so good. Their Mr. Freeze is like kind of like Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yeah,
like, their Mr. Freeze is like Mr. Freeze for me.
It was. I mean, it was just far from a children's TV show episode. It was very much adult in tone, and I thought it was good. So, but the basic synopsis is that you had this other rich guy, this other rich douchebag who's, quote unquote friends with Bruce Wayne in the socialite kind of arena, and he's running his company and he's up for Humanitarian of the Year award and all that stuff. And Mr. Freeze is stealing all this equipment from him. And they're trying to find out why, and he has his first encounter with Batman, and he gives him a good cold blast,
a little chill.
Yeah, chill out. So he gives him like the cold blast, and Batman also, by the way, gets the sniffles, and he makes the nastiest blowing his nose noises in the world.
Kevin Conroy's is terrible.
I hated everything about it. It sounded so snotty and disgusting. But so Alfred's like, here, sir, here's a cup of chicken noodle soup. The only way to fight a cold. And so he's trying to figure out why Freeze is stealing this equipment. He puts, through the amazing technology of the Bat computer, he figures out he's trying to make a giant cold gun, giant cold cannon. And so he goes to stop him. But in stopping him, he realizes that other rich guy whose name I didn't write down, he not only shut down his research for no reason, but he kicked him in the chest and sent him into all the chemicals that turned him into Dr. Freeze. And I think in this Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze, I think in this iteration, Nora's dead, or at least in that episode, I think they were meant to have her dead because she died. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm pretty sure they brought her back because they had Sub-Zero and they had the other subsequent episodes later. Mm-hmm. But she was dead. So he ruined his life as well as his wife's life. who was in the cryo freeze.
So then it was game on. Like, all bets are off. Then you killed my wife. I'm gonna kill everybody.
Yeah. So of course Batman stops him, but he also has them arrest the rich prick. But it was very good. I will tell you that this reminded me of I think it was the New 52, Zack Snyder run of Batman. But and I don't know if you ever saw this or read this, but his version of Mr. Freeze was Nora was not his wife. Like Bruce Wayne shut down his research when he was still just Victor Freeze, and he shut it down because Nora was not his wife. Nora was this woman that he had fallen in love with.
He was stalking her.
Yeah, stalking her.
I read it. It was actually. It's very so jarring at first. You're like, what?
It was very well done, though.
But it was great.
It was phenomenal.
It's awesome.
But he was just a creepy stalker who had fallen in love with her from afar. And then Bruce Wayne shut down his research. And I was just like, that's phenomenal. And then somehow later in the now we're in like a Tom King's run. No, what was it? I don't know. There was an iteration where then it switches back, and then he employs Batman or he employs Mr. Freeze to help him because Mr. Freeze apparently helped stop the Nazis, or he came from Nazis, or I don't know. His grandparents, I think, were Nazis. That's it. And his grandparents worked with Thomas Wayne's parents because that was a thing. Either way, look it up, kids. I'm not an encyclopedia, but yeah, that was my number 5.
And this is your number 5, arguably one of the best episodes of this whole series.
Yes, and it was my number 5 only because the other episodes I had more of a fanboy connection to. Mr. Freeze is by far one of my favorite villains, which is why it made my list in the first place. But there were some other ones that I just had like a fanboy freak out connection to.
Yeah.
Because especially going back and watching the episodes, it was like, as a kid, I never noticed these Easter eggs. I never noticed the amazing little things they put in it.
Yeah.
And, I also just wanted to mention, because like Batman, the animated series, by the way, has such an amazing aesthetic to it, like that
the feel of the whole show,
that noir kind of old mafioso kind of, like everybody's using Tommy guns and wearing those flat brimmed hats.
You could tell me it was in the 50s and I'd actually kind of believe it.
No, yeah, it's like it's like what's it called? What happened in the 20s when they couldn't
Great Depression?
No, when they couldn't drink alcohol. What was that called?
Oh, the moonshiners and all that stuff.
Yeah, we know history.
Why can't I think of it?
Yeah, we know history.
Just
but
keep talking. I'll think of it.
The mafia pretty much ran that scene because they were able to get people alcohol.
Prohibition era.
Thank you. Prohibition. So it almost seemed very Prohibition era, and maybe a little more modern than that. But you had the police blimps in the sky, and you had even the cops dressed up like very old fashioned.
But they still had that awesome, like, metropolis, again, not talking about Superman's home city, but like that
metropolitan feel
to Gotham.
But it was very dark and grimy, and everybody wore a suit. Not a single person in Gotham doesn't wear a suit, and that's amazing. What about you? What's your top 5?
Well, it's funny because I was just saying, oh, that's your number 5, and it's one of the best. It's not even on my top 5. So actually, speaking of, you have just a fanboy connection, a lot of mine are pure nostalgia. They could arguably be some of the worst episodes, but I love them. Maybe I saw them the most growing up. I don't know. But to start is an episode called His Silicone Soul.
Okay.
And I always remembered this one because it reminds me of Bizarro for Superman.
Okay.
So basically, the episode starts off, these thugs are, ransacking a warehouse, which thugs do all the time, nighttime, breaking into crates and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Batman just explodes out of this crate. And it's just so, doesn't make any sense. Even one of the thugs is like, there's no way this is happening. This is not happening. Batman comes out and does what Batman does best, delivers swift, dark, colored justice. Like, he's wearing black is what I meant. And dark gray. Moving forward. So he does all this, and then that same thug that said this can't be happening, pulls a gun and shoots Batman like 5 times. And Batman doesn't even flinch. And then the guy's like, you're not human. You're not human. He subdues the thug, looks down, and realizes he has exposed wires and metal in his midsection. He immediately has a freak out. He has no idea why his innards are cybertronic. Runs home to Wayne Manor, finds Alfred, shows him his situation. Alfred immediately freaks out. But the portrayal is that's actually Bruce. He has just somehow become a robot. So he says, I need help. I need to know what's happened to me. What's happening? Long story shorter, turns out he is a cyborg creation from, I believe, the actual company. They're called Cybertron, not the Terminator one. That's Cyberdyne. But Cybertron, this company created a computer called Hardak, and it would make machine copies of people. They even go through the list. They're like, tell us the confirmed copies. There's like Jim Gordon, Bullock, and a couple others. And they said they all got destroyed. Apparently, Hardak is what this machine was called. Its last dying maneuver was, I'm going to make a Batman because I can take over the world if I start with Batman. So that's what it is. He finds out he's a cyborg. He goes back to Hardak, which turns him into the whole we together are AI. We're going to take over the world. That's when the villainous plot comes to play. But interestingly enough, and this is what makes me like the episode so much, when Batman has the showdown with his mechanical doppelganger, if you will, he won't kill him. And Batman's like, maybe they made you a little too well.
Boo.
Yeah, and he said, I think they made you spot on because I won't take a life, and you can't do it. And he's like kind of taunting him.
That's funny.
And it's great. And they get in the showdown, and the robot knocks him off a cliff, and
Yeah.
Batman dies. And he has a literal breakdown, no pun intended. He's like, he just implodes. He's like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And he blows himself up pretty much, and then Batman goes, haha, psych. He comes up, and he's not dead.
I'm going to have to watch that episode, because I vaguely remember that episode from when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's cool, because you probably remember, because he would, like, peel his actual face off, and you see the cyber skeleton underneath.
Yeah, I also remember a Justice League episode similar to that.
Yep.
Or a Brainiac.
It was a Brainiac one. And if you watch Bill and Ted 2, when they had the good robot us's and the bad robot us's, they would do the same thing. But the cool thing, probably my favorite part of this whole episode, is the very last scene. It just randomly gets super deep.
Right.
And he's like...
A lot of them I noticed
do that a lot. And that's kind of part of the allure. But he's talking to Alfred, and he's like, I know that he was a machine. We know that. But I'm thinking there was a soul in there. And he's like, well, and he goes, look, fabricated or not, there was a soul in there. Like, basically implying like there was a living being in this machine. And then the episode just ends, and you're like, wow, that's cool.
Shit.
Overall, it's pretty corny. But that's what's great about this series is, for the most part, except for like 2-part episodes, it's very episodic.
Yeah.
Like they don't have any bearing on the other ones. That's why it's cool. They're little one-off
adventures. Some of them
adventures.
have like a lot of callbacks, and some of them, like especially further in the series, but you're absolutely right. Very episodic, which I think works for this show.
Awesome. It's like little adventures, like one-off little adventures. And then it's cool because they don't have to worry about tying into everything. Right. That's why I liked it so much. But that's my number 5.
Very cool. Yeah. I definitely got to watch that one tonight, because I remember that episode.
It's pretty
I just
good,
haven't
man.
seen it since I was, since the 90s.
It's just silly.
But my number 4 was actually the last one that I watched, and it was called The Demon Within. And man, did I love everything about this episode. It was a magic-based episode, and it featured Clarion the Witch Boy. And if you guys remember who that is, he was the kid. He was like looks like he's like 10 years old, 12 years old. He has little upturned hair licks that look like horns, and he has his cat that's a familiar, and the cat itself, can transform into a larger. In this show, it transforms into like a cat woman kind of cheetah-esque creature that fights Batman, but. It, very cool. I was always a big fan of the magic stuff. I was always a really big fan of Justice League Dark. Like I love, again, I'm reading the Justice League Dark now.
You like Zatanna?
Oh, love Zatanna. Yeah. Love Wonder Woman's actually part of the current Justice League Dark because they tied her roots to magic from Themyscira. Love that element. Bobo the detective chimp. I love him. Yeah, Bobo the detective chimp. He's great. I just love everything.
Constantine's dope too.
Deadman. You remember Boston? He's
yeah. The acrobat.
Yeah, he has the big. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
He's hilarious.
And then Etrigan the demon, who Etrigan is actually in this episode. So you're introduced. They're at this like auction, right? So it's a rich people auction, and you have Clarion the witch boy. He's sitting there. And Robin's like, oh, at least I'm not the only one who got dragged to these things. Obviously, he's Tim Drake. He's not like as Robin, but he's like, I'm not the only one who got dragged to this. And the Clarion's like, the fuck you say, little poor boy? he's like, oh, you're
street rat.
Yeah, he's like, you're not cool. And so there's this item up for sale that you see Jason Blood sitting on the other side of the aisle, and it's very obvious that it's Jason Blood. But you see him sitting at the other side of the audience, and so they start this bidding war over this brand. It's a brand that just says M on it. And so they're bidding over it, and they go up to like $300,000, and Jason's like, oh, I don't have that. I can't. But which is kind of funny to me because this is like clearly that this is going to be an item of importance. And Jason's like, oh, I guess I'll just let the witch boy have it because I don't have the money for that. And then Bruce Wayne comes in and bets, and he bids $1 million, and he says, $1 million. He wins it, and he gives it to Jason. He said, consider this a professional courtesy, because he knows, he's like, clearly this is important, and he trusts Jason. Him and Jason Blood and this are friends, and he says, call this a professional courtesy because they know who each other is, and so it's cool. You find out that the brand is the brand of Merlin. And that brand is what tied Etrigan the demon to him 1,500 years ago.
Yep.
And
because he was a knight, wasn't he?
Yes, he was one of Merlin's knights of the Round Table, and
to save his life, he tied his soul to the soul of a demon.
Yep. So he basically, the witch boy wanted it so he could control the demon. So he comes and his familiar sneaks in. They're talking, and the familiar sneaks in while they're talking in the apartment. And he tries to steal the brand and whatnot, and he's successful. So there's a big scuffle, takes it. And so all of a sudden the witch boy has the brand and he can control the demon. Let me tell you how awesome Etrigan looked in Batman the Animated. He was just big and brutish, had the had the red shirt with the blue cape. He didn't speak in rhyme the way that he does in everything else.
That's kind of part of his appeal.
But he did do the whole gone, the skin of man, arise the demon Etrigan.
Yeah, I love that.
Love that little spellcast thing.
So cool.
So, there, it's just this very cool magic-filled episode where they're battling. The Clarion, the witch boy, he looked straight Children of the Corn. It was creepy. He had those sharp eyes with no eyebrows.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, freak. Like, I didn't like him at all.
I hate creepy kids, man. Like, I'm still messed up from The Ring.
Yeah.
Oh.
He had a weird little British accent. I hated it. Hated everything about it. But,
sir.
Of course, at the end, everything works out. It was just a very fun episode, especially if you're a fan of, like, the magic elements of the DC universe, and that because Swamp Thing, for instance, has always been tied to Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
Constantine, who doesn't love Constantine in some capacity?
Which, if y'all didn't get fired up enough from his description of this episode, please watch the Justice League Dark animated movie.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is so good. It is amazing.
Very good.
I'm going to go home and watch that now.
I think I might watch that tonight. I was thinking about
so
we were talking about it before the show started.
Yeah.
And I really want to watch it now.
Well, now I'm gonna go home and watch that episode first.
Yeah, watch The Demon Within. It's season 3. I may be wrong on these because we were talking also that it's so hard nailing down the actual seasons and the numbers.
Yeah, guys, we were gonna give you like the season and the episode number,
right.
But I promise you, we cross-reference like 5 different sources,
all different answers.
And I have box sets of these DVDs at home, which break it down in like season 1, 2, and 3, and they're completely not.
And his seasons are different than the seasons that are on the DC Universe app, which are different than all 5 of those websites that I have no idea. What we did come to agree on is that the very first episode of Batman the Animated Series is on Leather Wings, which is the Man-Bat episode.
Which we can segue right into that because that's my number 4.
Is that your number 4?
It's my number 4.
Is that... Wait, are you sure it's that one or the second one?
No, it is on Leather Wings.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Because it's the introduction of Kirk Langstrom.
Oh, before we do that, The Demon Within premiered on my birthday when I turned 4 years old, May 9th, 1998.
Are you Etrigan?
Yes, I am Etrigan incarnate.
I thought you were just a normal man. Now you are a demonic farting Etrigan.
Oh, no, I'm just fat. But it's okay.
That's rude.
It came out when I was 4 years old. That's just such a fun fact because
awesome.
I already loved this episode. And then when I looked it up, it said premiered May 9th, 1998. And I was like, I was 4.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I think one of the Nolan Batman movies came out on my birthday.
Really?
A couple years ago. Yeah. It was one of those like, you're like, yeah, this was just for me.
When's your birthday?
It doesn't matter. But my number 4 is actually on Leather Wings. And
I don't want people 15th. To know on the podcast. They might steal my identity.
July 15th.
July 15th?
Yes.
Did any of them come out that late?
Yeah. Well, I think they all came out in July.
Oh, really? I don't know why I thought they were all like
but...
summer blockbuster, like May releases. Because my birth month is always big for, like, I think every year as a kid, I went to see either one of the Spider-Man movies or one of the... Something came out in May.
That pre-summer...
Yeah.
Just right before all the other crap comes out, we'll throw our movies.
And it's April, so this May is Endgame, right?
And it comes out in April.
It comes out in April?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Let's not even go there.
I don't even see it so bad.
So, taking the reins back over here, because we'll fall into an Endgame trap.
I know.
My number 4 is an episode called On Leather Wings. Debated this earlier. Is this the premiere episode?
Yes.
Okay.
On Leather Wings, the premiere episode.
I still don't believe that's true. But
what's weird about it is that was the premiere episode, and then so that's the very first episode of Batman in the Animated Series, right? And then the next episode is Christmas with the Joker. Yeah. That's episode 2.
Yeah,
and it's
such
like
a wild episode.
It just throws you right into it because the first episode doesn't have Robin, but the second one sure fucking does.
Well, we didn't know it was going to be episodic at first, and then you realize quick, you're like, none of these have any ties to each other except for like the 2-parters, and like you said, sometimes they call back, but you're like, what just happened?
I just want to know where Robin went in the first episode.
He was busy.
Or if they were just like, we don't know if we're going to put Robin in there. And then the second episode came around, it's Christmas with the Joker, and they're like,
which
here's
is such
Robin.
A funny episode. That one is nuts. But I'm not going to go. Actually, I'm not going to go too deep into this one. I just don't feel like I have to.
It's a good story,
but
though.
This episode is essentially the introduction to Dr. Kirk Langstrom, who is the Man-Bat, which essentially takes a serum. He's trying to make a serum, he's trying to cure something.
I don't remember.
Because there's different iterations of his story.
I was about to
Anyways,
say, there's so many different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I think in like the newer ones, he's trying to actually cure cancer.
Yeah.
And it has to do with cells that bats carry.
Oh, that's right, because there's like regeneration cells and stuff. But long story just made up into whatever I'm about to say. He's a scientist working on a serum, essentially. Ends up doing human trials on himself.
Right.
And he turns himself into Man-Bat, which, if you've never seen him or heard of him, say his name to yourself out loud and you know what he looks like. He is a Man-Bat. Like, he is just a large bat wearing blue jeans. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty awesome. He's a great character.
I used to love that, the ripped blue jeans.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
He's like a werewolf with wings is essentially what he is. Because I don't think he does have control of when he turns because he has to take the serum.
Again, different iterations.
See, anyways, it's a great episode. Kirk Langstrom, Man-Bat. He's just a great adversary. It's ironic, obviously. Batman, Man-Bat. I always thought that was funny.
Well, I thought that was like the big idea, right? They were like, "Hey, if this is Batman, what would the opposite be?"
Well, they did it with Spider-Man too. He also there was Man-Spider.
Yeah, but they turned him into Man-Spider. Yeah.
But it's just funny, you know. It's a good episode. It's definitely my number 4. And then my top 3, I'm gonna really let loose on.
Okay,
I like these a lot.
I love that episode on Leather Wings. Just to get in a little word myself, I think that it's always been a really fun episode. I think it introduces you perfectly. And what I was saying earlier is I think that it's very apparent when you get towards the end of this series, which is what a lot of my main ones are, versus that like early episode, and how different the voice acting is, and how like soft Kevin Conroy kind of approached. Like, and it may have felt like he was rough and gruff, but it just sounded so like soft compared to what it turned out. And the same with Mark Hamill. When you watch Christmas with the Joker, he doesn't have near the rasp or near the cackliness or near any of that he does later.
Yeah, they come into their stride later, and
You definitely
God,
see
it was a
where
treat
they
for all of us.
Yeah, you definitely see where they hit their stride. But a really good example of that is actually my number 3, an episode called Old Wounds. It is such an amazingly like heartfelt episode. It's basically Nightwing telling Tim Drake the story of why him and Batman don't work together. So Tim was curious. He was like, why don't you guys ever talk? Why don't you ever work together? You guys work together. You were the dynamic duo. You were Batman and Robin. And Nightwing just says, things change. And he said, that's funny, because I asked Batman yesterday exact same question. And you know what he said? He said, things change. He said, you're really turning out to be more like him than you want, huh? And so Nightwing's like, all right, let me tell you why. So basically, Batman, and again, it's such a like a weirdly heartfelt episode where you're seeing Nightwing has his whole Nightwing mullet going on.
I hate that so
I
much.
love the Nightwing mullet.
I hate the mullet.
Love it so
Hate
much.
that guy.
But you see him in his Nightwing mullet, and so he's having these flashbacks, or you're getting a flashback scene as he's telling Tim Drake the story of why he's not. So basically, he graduated college, right? Guess who didn't show up because he was Batmaning, which at some point you understand, and I think even he understood. All right, he's busy, but for his celebration that night, he was out to dinner with Barbara, because at this point him and Barbara were dating. Barbara is also not Batgirl yet. She doesn't know his secret, so he's having his celebration dinner for graduating fucking college with Barbara, and he gets a call from Bruce, and he says, I'm sorry, I have to take this real quick and check on. So he answers the phone, and Bruce just says, I followed them to this location, get here now. And he said, now's not really a good time. And he's like, I don't make the schedule. So, he just, I guess, felt that, of course, Batman was the only thing in his life. And now he's an adult, and he still, obviously he becomes Nightwing. He still wants to do his part, but there has to be more. He has to have more than just, because he doesn't have the same war on crime that Batman has. Yeah.
Dick has always wanted to have his real life while also being the alter ego. At least in my opinion, it seems like that's what.
Well, I think that he didn't, even with his parents' death, I don't think he took it nearly the way that Batman, or maybe his experience getting in with Batman so young, because Dick Grayson was, he became Robin pretty young. Maybe that helped him get a lot of that anger out early on. So by the time he was an adult, he didn't feel the need for that to be the only thing in his life.
Oh, it wasn't Dick, it was Jason, because I was going to say that's why Batman took him, because also he knows what it was like to be that young and go through that, so he was trying to shape him. But I remember with Jason, it was interesting because he goes, I know this kid has so much power and potential that if I don't take him, he's going to go bad. Which I thought was so cool because he always recognized.
He met him when Jason was trying to steal the fucking wheels off the Batmobile, which is awesome. Amazing.
So awesome.
And depending on the iteration that you're reading or watching, he got one or two of the tires off, or there were some where it's the Batmobile. You're not getting those wheels off.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to interject with the random side story here in your episode.
No, sorry for sure. I mean, it's I love that you apologize on your own podcast. That's adorable.
Fuck off.
But but it was a really great. So you're seeing kind of like that frustration of Dick being Robin, and it was super weird seeing. It was like watching Chris O'Donnell dressed up as Robin. It's like seeing a grown person in a Robin costume just now feels like really creepy.
Yep.
So they get to the point where he walks away from Batman, and I think what it was he goes MIA. That's right. He goes MIA for a couple nights, and he can't get a hold of. He tells Alfred. He says, you know, find Robin. He says, I've already tried, sir. Well, Barbara Gordon is actually Batgirl, but they don't all know about it. She did it on her own, right? So she became Batgirl, and she's not part of the Bat family. So she goes to Bruce and is like, hey, you need to help him. I've never seen him this angry. And he goes, follow me. He shows her the Batcave, and he goes, what do you think, Batgirl? And she's like, how did you know? And he's like, I'm Batman. Like, you know, so he takes her to fight the Joker. The Joker's doing some fuck shit and on a rooftop. And, you know, she almost gets killed. So, of course, he's not he's still Robin, but he steps in. There's this amazing fight scene on the top of this building where it's Joker and his two thugs, once again dressed as like New York Mafia, sporting Tommy guns.
Saying, we'll get him, boss.
Right. And they're all jumping around the rooftop, doing their acrobatics and kicking ass. And it's like it's spectacular. So they kind of clean up, and it's rough. And he gets so mad at Batman. He's like, I'm done with this. You know, I'm tired of you putting everybody else in danger and not thinking about, you know, you're only thinking about yourself and your stupid war on crime. And then he says, I quit. And he walks away, and Batman goes, Dick, wait. And he puts his hand on his shoulder, and Robin turns around and knocks this bitch on the ground. Like, I didn't think that they were going to like full on let him hit Batman that hard, but he like clocked him, and he was down for a minute. And he walked away, and he threw the domino mask and the cape on the ground, and he kind of jumped to another rooftop. But, you know, it was kind of cool. But then it ended with, you know, him telling Tim, you know, it's just a lot of history. And then the bat signal hits the sky, and Tim goes, well, that's my cue. You coming? And he says, I guess it's about time. And then they kind of grapnel off together to go meet Batman. And it kind of was like, it kind of got me hyped, because you know that for the first time since, that's a huge story point, was him leaving and becoming Nightwing. And you just know that they were rappelling off together for him to go have that first confrontation with Batman since he left.
Which is so funny because, like, again, depending on which iteration of the character you're reading, Bruce is so good at mind games that, like, you know, Dick is all amped up, ready to have this conversation. He's probably nervous, and then he'll be like, look, I just want to, and then Bruce will be like, I don't care. Whatever, are you ready to work?
I don't think it'd be that. I think it'd be, so you have two different options. You'll have the let's get to work, and he'll ignore it.
That's the one.
Or he'll go, Bruce, and he'll be like, I know, Dick. Me too. Yeah. You know, he'll do the like, I know, me too.
Han, I love you.
And
I know.
That's it. Like I think that's amazing though. I
was referencing the Family Guy version of that. Have you seen Blue Harvest?
Yeah,
and all
of course.
This, where she goes, Han, I love you, and he goes, fuck off.
So what about you, man? What was your number 3?
That episode of Family Guy. No, so number 3 and number 2. It was a toss-up because I didn't know which one I wanted to put where, but I think I've made my decision. So number 3 is titled Bane.
Bane.
So if you couldn't put the pieces together, this is the introduction of Bane. Bane is, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, he's one of the best Batman villains.
Yes.
I love him. He's awesome.
And this was a solid iteration of Bane.
Yeah, I was going to say almost all versions of Bane are awesome. There's like one or two, you know, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And then the one we were talking about earlier where I said he looks like Dominatrix Bane.
Yeah.
I'm not super fond of that one. But this one is sick. He comes, and it's hilarious because when the episode starts, this plane lands, and they're talking about they hired this guy to help get the Batman. You know it's about to be Bane coming out of the
right.
plane. But it's hilarious because he's like 8 feet tall, and he's wearing his mask, and like you said, he has like the overcoat and the top hat, but he's wearing the Bane mask, and he's just walking around like he's casual. Gets in the car, you know, the car drops because they're implying he's like 500 pounds. Got the Spanish accent, but it's solid. Like it's, they teased you. I can't remember if Nightfall had already come out or not, the book.
Yeah.
I believe
that
it
was
had
the 80s.
much longer before had come out. But anyways, they tease you with Nightfall because he comes back. He keeps saying, I will break you. I will break you. And
Yeah.
you know that you're like, oh, crap. Are they going to let him break his back?
Yeah.
And then he even picks him up at the end like he's about to do it, bows his knee out. And, of course, Batman hoses up that plan. But it's good. It's great. They show this version of Bane. They show how smart he is because he even says they hire him to come kill Batman. And he's like, all right, well, I'll go after him soon. And they're like, well, what do you mean? He goes,
Right.
oh, I'm going to watch him do his work. I want to know how he thinks. I want to know how he fights.
Right.
I love that dialogue right there because that's, to me, what sets Bane apart because he's always so calculated. And that I love when he says that. He goes, I'm going to watch him in his element, and I want to see how his mind works, and I want to see how he operates. And then I'm going to crush him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That's sick.
Yeah.
So ultimately, in their big showdown, the way that Batman defeats Bane a lot usually has to do with the Venom. And rather than cutting off his supply to the Venom, he ODs him on Venom, like he's about to pop, and it's hilarious. And he's like, you can't do this to me. And then Batman's kind of like looking. He's like, should I just let him pop? And then he eventually, takes it out. And then, like what we were talking about, he unmasks Bane.
Yes.
Which was odd. It was just kind of weird. I wasn't expecting
didn't like it.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, we just
very
watched that
average
clip
guy.
right before we started doing the podcast, and I didn't like it because he looked very weird.
Yeah,
he kind of looked stupid too.
He kind of did. He looked silly, and you could tell he was just coming off the Venom OD, and he was all beat up and defeated, and he just looked dopey. He was like,
yeah, I didn't like that, but it was a solid
oh,
episode.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's legit number 3. Like it's a great episode.
Yeah, my last two, my number 2 and number 1, I'm really excited to talk about actually because they were both very cool.
Me too. And my number 1 is kind of a curveball.
I have so my number 2 is Mad Love. It is based off the same named comic book, also written by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. And it's the story of how Harley Quinn fell in love, or Harleen Quinzel fell in love with the Joker. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, what amazing stuff.
It's always a good story.
At the beginning, the synopsis is like they were trying to capture Batman once again for one of these crazy schemes. And this time it was in a dental office. And the voice acting and the dialogue was so amazing. Like Mark Hamill just really nails it home as the Joker, but Arlene Sorkin really drives it home as Harley Quinn. And that's what was amazing to me, was Arlene Sorkin's ability. Not only was it her ability to play Harley Quinn, but her ability to differentiate the voice between Harleen Quinzel then to Harley Quinn and have them be completely different but still believably the same.
Because Tara Strong gets a lot of recognition for Harley, but this one is...
Yeah, Arlene Sorkin was really fantastic.
I keep
so
wanting
basically,
to call her Arlene Quinzel. I'm so sorry.
So basically, the Joker's upset because he cannot find a good scheme to finally kill Batman. Because in this, he actually wants to kill Batman, and he just can't find. He had a thing about piranhas, and he goes, but piranhas don't smile, and I can't get them to smile. Because they only frown.
I love that he's so goofy in this version of the Joker.
But he was so goofy, but he was super murdery.
He was, but he's just so... He's funny.
I love it. But this was absolutely prime Joker and Batman. Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin all hit their stride. I really loved it. And it also super highlighted the abusive relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn. Because you had that, and I know you've probably seen the meme all over the internet of Harley, like, in the 90 getting up on his desk and being like, what's the matter, Mr. J? Don't you want to rev up your Harley? And he just, like, beats her and throws her into, like, a cellar.
He, like, kicks her ass, and he's like, piss off, wench!
But he throws her into, like, this cellar with the dogs, and she's just sitting there like, why won't he love me? And reminiscing over how this all came to be.
Granted, we are laughing about this because it's a cartoon. We're not advocating any sort of abuse.
Yeah, to the viewers out there, we're not laughing at abusive relationships. This is clearly a different...
This shit is just funny.
This is historically documented Joker and Harley Quinn stuff. But it was really just kind of weird the way... What I did love is that when you're going through the flashbacks and stuff, the dialogue was taken straight out of the comics. And a lot of the things she said, which also was featured by Tara Strong in Arkham Asylum. And when you collected the patient tapes, a lot of the patient tapes were them in Arkham. It was the verbatim exact same dialogue. And I really just kind of, because I've read Mad Love a million times because it's such a good, little story if we're talking about a one-shot comic. But that, just seeing that kind of, it's just like we were talking about how The Killing Joke, when they did that for the animated movie, after the first 30 minutes, like, it was verbatim dialogue the whole movie through. So I thought that was really cool to see.
You're really
I loved
upset
it.
by that first half hour of that movie.
What's that?
You're really upset by that first
Yeah.
half of
I
that
wasn't
movie.
upset by it except for the fact, like, I was upset because they turned Batgirl into
Something she never was prior.
She was a plot device.
Yeah, she was never that, because there was like just a random sex scene.
Yeah,
and
they
all
used
that.
her for sex and for a plot device. And
it was not cool. It didn't make sense.
It wasn't exactly. It didn't make any sense. So the feminist in me was kind of annoyed that they purely used her for that. Like, I think another kind of conquering Batman moment where he had sex with Batgirl, and then she turned into this pathetic, whiny little, like, why doesn't he love me kind of thing. And that's not the character.
See, and it's weird because, like, if I'm being honest, I could see that happening in their relationship, but it had no place in that story. And she'd never had been that device before.
Right.
And I didn't like it. I'm with you there, man. It was stupid. But yes, once the Killing Joke started, the actual story,
yes, once you got that opening shot of Arkham, and he's walking down towards the cells. And I love that, just like in the book, they had, I don't mean to get off on a Killing Joke rant, but just like in the book, he was like walking past the cells, and you see Two-Face, like it said H. Dent, and you just see like Two-Face's hands there or whatever. You see his eye.
I think like a lightning strike comes and you see his face.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just really cool shit. So, yeah, but Mad Love was straight out of the comics. I think it was very poignant, very well done. I liked it a lot, and I think that it's always cool to see that origin story of how just through his manipulation she fell in love. It's chilling. Like, as a fan of the Joker, that level of manipulation is chilling because you know what he's capable of. But yeah, definitely a good, and definitely my number 2.
Awesome, very good one. So my number 2, I'm going to introduce my first two-parter because, like we had mentioned before, a lot of these were two-parters.
Right.
Like 2 consecutive episodes. This one is The Demon's Quest, Part 1 and Part 2.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yes, and he's called Ra's al Ghul.
Do they say Ra's
Yes,
in the show?
they say Ra's.
Okay, very good.
It's awesome. It's just your typical run-of-the-mill, kind of their version of the origin of Batman meeting Ra's. I don't know about you. I've always loved the fact that Ra's seemingly always wanted Bruce to be a successor. Like, always. And almost all of the stories they've had, he always wants Bruce to take over either the League or, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it very obviously that nobody else was worthy of taking the role of the Demon's Head.
I love that. Like, and they did a good job with it in Arrow because they just changed it to Oliver Queen instead of Bruce Wayne, and it was good. But I've always loved that. Like, Ra's was like, Bruce Wayne has to take over the League when I go. He's the only one worthy, like you said.
And again, I think that it was kind of neat that we still got a big flavor of that in Gotham itself.
Yeah.
And from a very early start, even before he was Batman.
Yeah, and their version was cool because he knew he would be Batman, which was crazy because you're like, has this guy see the future? Because he even tells him, he's like, you're going to be that Dark Knight.
Yeah, he said the phrase Dark Knight twice.
It's like he knows. He's like, I've seen your future. Like,
they had a weird thing too in that episode where we saw the silhouette of Batman or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a shadow.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big fan of Ra's. I think he's cool, just being the leader of the League. Talia's cool. Lazarus Pits, love it. But in this iteration, he seeks out Bruce. Robin had been kidnapped. That was the premise. That's how it started. Robin had been kidnapped. And then just to show, because Ra's himself, he's a badass. Like, he is no pushover. Like, he sees Bruce more as an equal kind of thing, if anything. But so Batman's chilling in the Batcave trying to do detective things, and all of a sudden Ra's and his like butler just walk in, and Bruce has his mask off, and he's like, "What the hell? How'd you get in here?" And he's like, silence." And he's like, and then the funniest part is like they're talking, and his mask is off for like 5 minutes, and then he randomly puts it back on. It's like, oh, what? Maybe they forgot. But Ra's is pretty much just like, I'll help you find your boy, blah, 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 blah. I'm Ra's. And it's cool because Batman's always depicted as kind of a legend, but he says the same thing to Ra's. He's like, oh, I thought you were just a legend. I didn't think you were real.
Right.
And it's sick. It's awesome. So they end up, and the reason I like this so much is it reminded me of like Indiana Jones. Like they go across the world and they go on this adventure. Like they end up in, I can't remember where they said they went, but they ended up like in Africa and then in the desert and all this stuff. And they determine Robin had been kidnapped by these mercenaries. They go to chase him down. The big reveal later is it was all a ploy. Ra's was behind the whole thing. Tells Batman what's up. He's like, hey man, you're taking over for me. You're my heir. I need you to be my heir. My daughter can't do it. You got to be the guy. Batman gives him a hard no. She's like, nah, bro.
Pass.
And then he's like, well, you know what? F you, bro. So he's like, you got to die. You know too much. So they go through that. Batman gets the best of him. Ra's is like ill the whole time. You got to keep in mind he's like 10,000 years old.
Yeah, they have a shirtless sword fight, if I remember correctly.
Except he's still wearing the cowl.
He's still wearing the cowl.
But that's not before Ra's takes his first dump into the Lazarus pit. Oh, he didn't take a dump in the Lazarus pit. He was dumped into the Lazarus pit.
He just pulled his pants down, took a big old shit in the Lazarus pit.
That's it, and that poop was immortal.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was they did this in the Red Hood origin book, Lost Days. Have you ever read that? It's like one of my favorite. It's like tells Red Hood's complete origin.
No, I don't think I have.
And they did it a little bit in the Under the Red Hood movie, but like when you go into the Lazarus pit, Talia says it in the show. She's like, yeah, you get the gifts of like the physical gifts, but you pay a terrible price every time you go in there. Like you lose a part of your soul or something. But they're legit just like, no, you come out insane.
Yeah.
So he comes out and Ra's just maniacally is laughing.
But that's always been my favorite part because it is you go in and you get those youth effects or those everlasting, but it takes a part of your mind.
Yeah, you got to
forget that it takes a part of your soul. It takes a part of your everything.
Well, that's like with Jason when he comes out.
Right.
One of my favorite lines of Under the Red Hood is he goes, "What's wrong? Are you afraid that it made me rabid, or that I always was?"
That is like, why the Under the Red Hood movie made such a better explanation or story for how the Red Hood happened versus the comic books, because the comic books was insane.
I subscribe to the fact that he was taken to the Lazarus pit.
Yes.
And he was revived.
Yeah.
And Talia and Ra's were in on it.
Yeah.
And then he basically busts out. Like, that's my origin for Jason.
Yeah, he busts down Tatiana for sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Well, tell me about that. You said Lost Days though. What was that? When was that a part of?
Yeah, it's called Red Hood Lost Days. It's just its own one-off graphic novel, and it's all about his origins from getting killed, becoming the Red Hood, and then like his early years, like his year one of being Red Hood.
Was that like New 52 stuff?
No. This was pre all that. It's actually a little older. But like I said, it's its own thing. Like it's not canon to anything.
Right.
But it uses the Lazarus Pit origin. They change it a bit.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'll let you borrow it. I own it.
Yeah, if you got it, bring it over next time because I'd love to read that.
So good. But anyways, he pops out the Lazarus Pit, and it's hilarious because he's laughing maniacally like the Joker, and he won't stop for like 10 minutes until his own daughter, Talia al Ghul, bitch slaps him so hard she knocks sense into him, literally. And everybody's like, damn! And then he's like, oh, thanks, daughter. Moving on, they end up having the shirtless sword fight. Yeah. Your favorite part.
Yeah, really excited. I love it.
Batman's wearing the cowl. It's so corny. Yeah. It's dumb. And then Batman ends up letting him fall into the pit for good. They did explain that if you're old, the pit will revive you, but if you're young, it'll kill you. So this was a younger Ra's. He had already gone in the pit once.
Yeah.
So he fell into it again and he died. And then they just Batman tells Talia, he gives her a smooch, and then he goes back to Gotham, and then you see Ra's hand come out of the pit, and that was it. It's a two-parter. It's good, man. I just love the Ra's al Ghul and the League and the Lazarus Pits.
I'm a big fan of the Ra's al Ghul ideal.
I do too, and I like Talia a lot. I didn't like her in The Dark Knight Rises because they totally ruined her character.
I still don't know where Nyssa comes in because I don't remember her.
Nyssa al Ghul?
Yeah,
the other sister?
She just showed up in Gotham, and she showed up in the Arrowverse stuff. Talia never did, but Nissa's been a part of it. And there's just been I've seen a lot of stuff with Nyssa in it, but I don't remember reading books with Nyssa in it. I don't know where her importance comes in.
Is she in the books?
Huh?
And I'm going to sound ignorant to I'm a comic book fan, but is she in the books?
Not in the stuff that I've read.
I've never
that
read
being
a story
said,
with her
and
in it.
I'll be upfront about this. My extensive comic book knowledge is from Flashpoint and maybe a little Final Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earths and forward.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of New 52 and the current Rebirth stuff. I have a lot of knowledge on that stuff.
Yeah.
Not so much before, but
I got
only
tons
24
of
years old,
knowledge,
and
so.
when I was growing up, it was a lot of that. Flashpoint was a big deal when I was a kid.
You might be like me, New 52 and on, like you were saying, those eras. But then the older stuff, it's the stories that you specifically wanted. For me, I sought out certain things.
100%.
I didn't go get
agree
whole
with that.
lines or anything.
So there's a lot of stuff, just like you said, from Flashpoint forward. Because Flashpoint was what brought the New 52.
Right.
And Flashpoint
Which itself is a great story.
Right. Flashpoint in itself was amazing. In the current Rebirth stuff, we're getting a lot of those demons are coming. We have Thomas Wayne's Flashpoint Batman happening in the new stuff right now.
Drunk Punisher Batman.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that cool stuff. Flashpoint forward is its own thing, in my opinion, because you can go back and read a lot of your favorite stories and the Red Hood stuff and the original Death in the Family where he died and
of course,
that, which was super campy.
Nightfall.
I just read it again, the Death in the Family.
Oh, it's
so bad.
corny.
It's so campy.
Nightfall is kind of like that too. Nightfall's pretty old.
Nightfall's a lot like that. Even the Long Halloween, even just the old stories, they're really great to have as what they are. But if we're talking about canon and what we like to pretend is canon, is Flashpoint forward. So that's me personally. A lot of older folks may disagree, but I definitely read from that point on. But
Lost Days came out in 2011, and it looks like this.
Really? Let's see.
So it's about 8 years old.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, that's
really good.
That's really neat artwork too.
It's awesome.
I just ordered the by I don't remember who wrote it, but Lee Bermejo, who does the art for Batman Damned. He did another graphic novel that was just called The Joker in that really realistic art style. And I just ordered it because I've never read that, and I just ordered it off Amazon because
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
I just see things. I'm like, yep, I'm just gonna get it.
I love having my books, these long boxes full of comics and stuff, which I only have 2, folks. Don't think that I have a giant collection, but someday I'll have a bunch of boxes. But I love collecting these new books, but I do love going and buying old just graphic novels from I have on my in my cart. The Final Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Dark Side Wars. I have all that stuff ready to be bought.
See, that's my niche. For me, the single issues, it's not practical for me because I know it'll just get out of control. So I love getting the graphic novels. Now, granted, I have stacks and stacks and stacks of them now.
It's practical for me because again, I only collect new stuff except for when I find I bought the Amazing Spider-Man 252, which was the first appearance of the symbiote, the black symbiote. I bought Secret Wars number 8, which was the first time you saw the black suit, but didn't know it was a symbiote. And they just had Spider-Man number 300. Was it 300? Yeah, and Spider-Man number 300, which was the first appearance of Venom. So, and I almost bought that, but it was $450. But and I bought the first appearance of what's his name? Booster Gold, and
oh yeah.
So I got a lot of that stuff, but Most of my stuff is new, and it's practical to me because like when we go to MegaCon in May, I'm gonna bring a stack with me and have them all signed. And someday, if those books become like the Doomsday Clock stuff, or Heroes in Crisis, the event going on right now, or any of that stuff becomes worth anything, if Brian Azzarello were there to sign my Batman Damned, you bet your ass I would go have that thing signed and then take it right to the CGC and pay to have it slabbed. Because I can already sell it online for $200 because it's got Bat Dick in it, you know. But yeah, so.
See, it's funny what you're talking about because here's my cart. Like I have Death in the Family, Venom, the Enemy.
You guys can't see, but if you guys could see his Amazon wish list right now, it's all graphic novels,
Birth
and
of Venom.
mine is exactly the same way. It's graphic novels and like stuff for my bug out bag because I'm a crazy person.
Yep, all I have is Blu-rays, graphic novels, and before I kicked my ex off of my Amazon Prime, here's some stuff I see that she put in there, so I can delete that.
Personal massager by
L'Oreal
by
Paris
Spishak.
Makeup Brow Stylist Definer. I might keep that actually.
Ooh.
So, anyways, but that's my number 2, man. So we're to number 1.
My number 1. Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh.
I love this episode. I had so much fun watching this episode. This episode is called Legends of the Dark Knight.
That is a good one.
And it basically is these 3 kids who are walking down the street in Gotham, and they see that one of the newspaper stands had actually gotten a blurry picture of Batman. And nobody's ever gotten a picture of Batman because he's just too quick. He's too swift, you know? And so they're kind of sharing these stories about their experience with Batman. So the first kid starts telling the story of his uncle, who is a guard at a it was like a giant music museum, I think. And the museum, he was a guard at the museum, and the Joker came to steal stuff, right? So with each kid's iteration, you don't have the normal Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, but you have these different voice actors to match kind of what was going on.
Yeah.
And so the first kid's story, all the art design was back to the 60s. And it was that old, kind of like if you look up there, you guys can't see it, but if you look up there, that was the Batman and Robin. The Robin didn't have tights. He just had the underwear, and they had, you know, it was blue Batman with the black forehead and face. And
Speedo and a cape.
the Joker just had that big bulbous shape to his cheeks and head and eyes.
The chin that goes down like 4 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Like a big curvy long chin. It was so nostalgic. And the Batman, it was so funny because when they're fighting, it's this big wacky, just like back in the day,
Pow!
where there's a giant piano and the Joker's stepping on the keys and the hammer's coming down and hitting the strings, and they're trying to roll out of the way so they don't get hit by the hammer. And it's just so wacky and weird and fun. And this kid's telling the story through his uncle's eyes. And when Batman talked, Batman sounded very much like this. You know, like it was just so out of control, and I loved it. But what really was cool was the second story was this young redheaded girl with glasses, and it was Carrie Kelly telling this story of The Dark Knight Returns. And so immediately she goes because somebody was like, Batman's not even human, he's a big bat, you know, he has talons and fangs and blah blah blah. And she goes, oh, he's human, trust me. And she gets into the story, and it was the exact scene, frame by frame, dialogue for dialogue, of The Dark Knight Returns, where he's fighting the mutant gang leader.
And I'm sure you were gushing at this
I
point.
was gushing. So you have the mutant gang leader, and you have the two gang members, the mutants, who had the shirts, my name's Don and my name is Bill. And they're like, gang leader Billy Berserk, Batman be Billy crazy. Like they're talking
the way they talk so
yeah,
well.
that really cool slang that just was like
Batman just beat the boss.
Yeah,
Batman
exactly.
now boss.
And it was so perfect. And you had like Carrie Kelly with her slingshot, and the Batmobile, when he brings the Batmobile over the hill, and it's that giant tank, that slow moving tank. And he even had that exact dialogue, here's what you don't understand, son. This isn't a mud pit. This is an operating room, and I'm the surgeon. And he breaks his arm. Yeah. It was just a perfect. Everything that I could have. That is why this is my number 1, because that is my favorite all-time Batman story. and that was one of my favorite animated movies that I thought they did so insanely well.
I'll give you this because I know I know this is your favorite Batman story. That line of dialogue that you just said,
Right.
that I was gonna say myself, is I think, if not the best, one of the best pieces of Batman dialogue ever, where he tells him, "This is the operating table, and I'm the surgeon," and he starts picking him apart.
I think that story had a
amazing.
lot of it because, like, later when he's on the horse, the EMP had shut out all of the every electronic in Gotham, and he's like gathering this gang of people to go stop craziness in Gotham, and he gave that line about we don't use guns. Guns are for coward. They're loud and they're clumsy, and only cowards use them.
Oh yeah, and he's talking like very robotic, like he's just like, guns are for cowards. They're cowards' weapons, is what he says.
Well,
I think.
what was his name? Peter Weller, who you guys may know as RoboCop. He did the voice of Batman in the movie, like the actual, and the guy in the scene, in just this scene, actually sounded a lot like Peter Weller. So I'd be interested to look up to see if he actually did it for that scene as well.
Wow.
But so Peter Weller, he was on the horse and he was giving that huge speech of we don't use guns, they're loud and they're clumsy and only cowards use them and blah blah blah. And he says we use our fists and precision and we move swiftly through the night, blah blah blah. So he's like teaching these people how to be Batman, and it was just such a great like scene of dialogue. And somebody is like sitting on the ground, and he's like, I'll sue, And then Robin, Carrie Kelly, goes by, and she goes, yeah, good luck with that, dude. Like, it's great. But yeah, this episode just brought all that to like flooding to the surface for me because of how much I, as a fan, love that story. Yeah. And I love my copy of The Dark Knight Returns. It's not a first printing or it's a trade paperback. It's not even anything, but I hold this thing in such high regards because I love it so much.
Everybody has their favorite, man. It's very important to them.
And so they're done telling these stories of the Batman, and they think they see Batman grappling into a nearby movie theater. And so they run in to try to get a picture of him, and it's Firefly setting up the next bomb that he's going to burn down this theater. So they're like, oh man, it's Firefly, we got to warn Batman. And they have this flashlight that is a little bat signal, so they try to shine it up through the roof, through the like a hole in the roof, and it dies. And he's like, who's that? And Firefly's about to murder these children, like he's about to throw this grenade at these kids, and Batman busts through the roof. He does really cool, very quick fight scene with Firefly, and I don't know, just everything about it was just very cool. And that's definitely my number one. I highly encourage anyone listening to go check out. It is called Legends of the Dark Knight, and it is technically part of the new Batman Adventures, but it is the same show. I don't care what anyone says.
You love those compilation stories like that, like where it's like the different versions and they just show you all the different takes.
I'm a big fan of Easter eggs. It gets my little fandom heart freaking out, so I do.
I take it back. The best line of dialogue from The Dark Knight Returns is after he's defeated Superman, and he tells him, I want you to remember this moment in your most intimate of moments.
Yes.
That I beat you.
I beat you.
A man.
Yes. I am the one who beat you.
Yeah.
I love that. I also love it was like at the beginning, and it was so well done in the book too, because he's drinking scotch, and Gordon, he's sitting there with Gordon, and they're both retired. But he goes, it's been a far cry away from when you were just sipping on ginger ale, huh? And I love...
Or what is it too when because you can tell I love The Dark Knight Returns in the time setting because Justice League is come and gone. Bruce and Clark have been friends for years. And I love when he comes to Bruce first and he's like, soon I'm not going to have a choice. They're going to make me come for you. And he goes, I know.
I think what was great, and that's why they had to split that movie into two parts, was because they had, he had just finished taking out the KG Beast or the new... Or no, it wasn't the KG Beast.
No, it was...
She was the Nazi. She had the Nazis, the swastikas on her nipples.
Yeah, that was awfully...
You remember that?
Yeah. It's hard to forget.
But so Superman comes in and takes care of the Nazi, and he's pissed because he's like, he's always been, this is my city. This is my problem. like don't interfere with Gotham. But he burns into the ground Crime Alley, and he's like, I'll be there. And I just thought that was great. Like, I love it.
That's my favorite scene too, though. The one like I was just saying, where he's just like, soon I'm not gonna have a choice.
Oh.
And they're gonna make me come for you. He's talking about the president because he's like, I work for the government, and he's like, they're gonna make me come for you, and he's like, I know, and he's basically telling him, he's like, bring it.
And it was Nixon, or it was Reagan.
Yeah. And what does he tell him? He said, and you know what's gonna happen when that time comes, and he's like, yeah, may the best man win. He's like basically telling him, he's like, bring it, bitch.
Yeah. No, and I was wrong. Bruce was working in his field, and he was with the horse.
Yeah, because
and
he's just casual, and he comes down
from afar he still burns Crime Alley, because that was when they were gonna actually fight.
Oh yeah.
And he burns Crime Alley, and he looks up into the sky and just says, I'll be there. And
that's right.
Then they fight. Yeah, very good stuff. But
so
yeah, sorry, that was my number one, but
awesome.
I love it.
I'm excited. I'm gonna have to watch all these when I get home. Again. But my number one, here we go. Curveball. I'm cheating. I don't give a damn. This is our show. I do whatever the hell I want. It's technically a movie.
I already
but
know.
It's basically a glorified episode, so I don't care. It is the greatest piece of Batman animated artwork, cinematography, one of the best stories ever. I won't shut up about it till the day I die. Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Tell me about it, stud.
Yeah, it's the best freaking story. How much time do you have? I need a whole episode for it.
Well, we're at an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, so here's the synopsis real quick. It's just like the episodes of the show. It's a one-off. Like, once the events of this movie took place, that was it. Didn't have any bearing on the show. Was the show already over? Or was it in the midst of the show? I can't remember. Because it had a theatrical release. I saw this in theaters with my dad.
I don't remember, because they had this. It couldn't have been over, because he was in the old bat suit. This was before the new Batman Adventures. Okay. And they also had like Sub-Zero, and they had some of the other ones.
That's true. But the movie, again, theatrical release, same voice cast. Everything was the same artist. I think it was Paul Dini and all of them still did it. Basically, Batman's Batmaning around, and all of a sudden this Wraith-type character shows up. Looks like the freaking Grim Reaper. It's awesome. Gray, just Shredder-looking mask, and a huge, like, glaive. Is that the word? Glaive? Like,
Glaive?
Is that the, like the axe? Cleave?
A cleave, yeah, a cleaver.
Yes. Got an axe hand.
Yeah.
Looks like the freaking Reaper just coming around with smoke. And it's awesome because everybody thinks it's Batman from afar. Because the Phantasm has the aesthetic like Batman. Mm-hmm. From a distance, there's a cape, mask.
Yeah.
It's freaking Batman. However, the Phantasm doesn't have a no-killing rule. So that's the opening scene, is the Phantasm just lays waste to this mob boss. So you go back and forth with all this. There's a love interest introduced named Andrea Beaumont, which was like a high school sweetie type thing. She comes back in town.
Really great scenes.
It's just so good.
Showing their relationship, yeah.
Yeah, because they have like really good flashback scenes, because they do a bunch of like time jumping in this movie. And
it's annoying because it makes you feel like she's perfect for him. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing too, is they have different ones. Like in some stories it's Talia, in some stories it's Selena. Like, the only true one for Bruce. In this story, there's no question it was Andrea Beaumont. Like, they were actually gonna get married in the movie. He was gonna propose to her and hang up the vendetta that he had against crime. But anyways, like, her dad was deep in the mob, and mob killed her dad and all this stuff. But there's so many interesting things that they took liberties with in this movie, because like Batman's detectiving around, and he sees like a photo that Andrea's father's in with his mob friends. Right. And he sees one guy in particular, and he had crossed paths with them earlier in the movie, and he's like, why does that guy from back in the day seem so familiar? So he grabs the photo and he looks at him, and all he says is, oh no, and he drew a red smile on him. And they're telling you that was the Joker. Like, he was just, some mob enforcer that ended up becoming the Joker.
Wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, it's sick. I take it. Well, no, I don't have to take it back. But my favorite Batman scene on any sort of cinema, animated or live action, is from this movie. It's when he dons the cowl for the first time, and he's standing in the dark. He's wearing his outfit. Alfred comes up and basically like presents the cowl to him.
Right.
And he's standing in pitch black, grabs the cowl, puts it on. And this is just, in my opinion, 100%, this is the essence of Batman. Alfred knows who it is. He knows it's Bruce. He just gave him the cowl. But when he turns and faces Alfred, he is legit terrified. Like he's like stunned. He's like, oh, he like gets scared of him.
Right.
And then you see him as Batman for the first time. You're like, oh, this dude's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And it's like a chilling moment. It's really cool. Really nerding out on this part. But so it's cool. Like the Joker's in it. One of Mark Hamill's best performance is in this movie.
Yeah, I just watched it again last week, and really good.
And it's got one of the best endings because Andrea finds out, if I haven't given it up yet, Andrea Beaumont was the Phantasm the whole time.
Right.
That's the big reveal later in the film. She finds out the Joker killed her father, which all hell breaks loose. So at the end, there's a big showdown between the three of them, essentially Batman, Joker, and Andrea. And she has the Joker like dead to rights. She is beating the crap out of him. She's holding him up. They're in an abandoned theme park that is exploding to hell. And Batman's like, we gotta go. And she's like, nah. And she's just holding him. And another one of the best scenes ever is Joker looks at Batman, looks at her, realizes what's going on, and then he just starts laughing unstoppably because he's like, screw it. Let's go. Let's do it. Then it looks like Andrea and Joker die. And like I said, this has no bearing on the show because, in my opinion, Joker's dead. She killed him.
Right.
You find out she survived. It's great. If I could recommend anything Batman related to watch ever, this will always be it.
Yeah.
So that's my number one.
I love it. I have a surprise twist for you, Matt, that I didn't tell you about.
Am I fired?
Yes, I have a real number one episode, and my real number one episode is Batman Beyond episode number 1.
Oh my God.
Because I don't care what anyone says, it's part of the same universe.
Terry McGinnis.
But
What a
no,
boss.
I obviously I'm joking, but Batman Beyond number 1, I even wrote it down that I was going to do this stupid joke because it is such an amazing, if nothing about that show is great, that first episode where he meets Bruce Wayne and the fight with the Joker thugs on the train, everything about it was so incredible. And when you see Bruce Wayne still acting as Batman at the very beginning, but you can see how hard it is for him.
Old as hell.
He's old as fuck.
Yeah, he's like 70.
And then like the rest of the show, he's walking with a cane. So it's clear that his time was done.
Yep.
But I do love it. And it's very cool that it's plugged directly into the same universe. The same
Direct
with the Justice
sequel,
League and Justice League Unlimited. It's plugged right into all that. And I absolutely love that.
You know what's funny is for years, I was like, I'm not doing Batman Beyond. That's stupid. It's dumb. I don't want anything to do with it. And then years and years later, guess who sat down and watched it and loved every second of it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And guess who shows up? This character has only shown up maybe 3 times max, but twice that I can very much remember.
The Creeper.
The Phantasm.
Oh.
Shows up again.
Really?
Yes. They do another, they don't call it the Mask of the Phantasm. They call it something like Shadow of the Phantasm.
The only one that I remember was The Return of the Joker, where he implanted his consciousness into Tim Drake, and Tim Drake becomes the Joker.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about the Phantasm, like Andrea.
I know what you're saying. I just don't remember it.
Oh.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. Well, no, I know it's a book. I don't know if it was in the show.
Oh, it wasn't in any of the shows or the movies?
No.
Okay.
My bad. I should have clarified.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up too, because that's pretty neat.
It's been in my cart for a long time.
Speaking of books, I want to, just because we're coming to an end, we're at 2 hours. That's amazing. I want to just remind you guys, next week we're going to do our Shazam review, I hope. We're going to do our very best for me and Matt to both see Shazam this upcoming weekend.
Who is Shazam?
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
He was the guy with the cape.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go see it. The problem is I only really have Sunday to see it. So we're going to try our best to do our Shazam review. But on the 14th, we are definitely doing our comic book club. White Knight is Batman White Knight, which is the trade paperback you guys can purchase or download or look illegally. I don't know how you're going to do your thing. If you're in Jacksonville, Florida, please go support Mythical Mountain and have them get you that trade paperback. But it is the Elseworld tale about if the Joker went sane and the Batman was going a little bit crazy. So very cool shit. I've already read it. I'm about to read it for the second time. Matt, you got your copy, correct?
Yeah, so myself and all of our listeners, we have about 2 weeks exactly to have this story read, because that's when we're going to review it, correct?
Yes, we have exactly 2 weeks because it is on the 14th.
Well, shut up. Just shut up.
It is the 31st today of March.
I get that.
We're gonna, yeah. So, yeah, but I'm real excited for you to read it, man. Like, I think it's awesome. I'm gonna start reading it again tomorrow. I'm actually reading Flashpoint again for like the second or third time, and I don't want to stop. So I'm gonna finish that tonight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna start reading White Knight again, and we'll do it. But
I got to finish Infinity Gauntlet, and then I'll finish White Knight.
I thought you said you just finished that.
Nope, I got about 60 pages in, and I love it, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
Really good writing.
But yeah, I'm taking my time with it. I'll finish it probably tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll knock out White Knight.
What are your chances of getting to see Shazam this weekend?
I mean, I can go see it at any time, honestly, because I'm an adult and I can do whatever I want.
Well, so am I. I just work like.
I'm trying to joke with you. You're a tough crowd.
My work schedule is really shitty
Guy.
around the opening weekend, but we'll see.
Didn't you say you were staying up till 4 because you didn't have to work till noon?
Yeah. So what I might try to do is Saturday, like I get off work at 11 on Saturday. If there's like a midnight show, I will go see it.
Why don't you go catch a matinee during the week?
Because I don't want to get up that early.
Poor
The
you.
fuck? I have to. Well, I work 10-hour days, so I have to be at work at 12:30, and I don't want to go that early because I'm a lazy piece of shit.
Do you like Justin Timberlake?
I do.
One of his hits was "Cry Me a Fucking River." How about that?
Oh. Well, everybody, Matt's still a bitch, but thank you so much for listening. I know
we have fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good fans out there, and you guys have been so kind to us and telling us your thoughts on the show. Please, if you get the chance, go on to whatever site you're listening to the podcast and rate us 5 stars. Give us a nice review.
Yep. Oh, and if you've been listening but you haven't liked our social media, thank you for listening, first of all. But
Yep.
please feel free to go like our Facebook page and then a newly launched Instagram page at Bat Hat Podcast.
Yes. So we have the Instagram page at Bat Hat Podcast. We have the Twitter at Bat Hat Official, and the Facebook page, which is the Bat in the Hat Podcast. And I know it sounds like a lot, but we're trying to get the name out there, and you guys have been really great so far. Help us spread the word. Share our posts. Share whenever we have new episodes coming out. We always make posts about it. And let other people know how much you enjoy listening to our show. But thank you guys so much again. It's been really fun. Matt, you got anything else to say?
No, just thank you so much for listening. If you've made it this far, or if you've listened in the past, it means the world to both of us. And just thank you.
Very cool. All right, bye guys.
All right, take care.